Uh, with that, welcome to Search Engine Land, live with Search Engine Land. I'm Ginny Marvin. I'm the editor-in-chief at Search Engine Land, and I'll be your host today. So last week, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook CEO, called Facebook Shops in the announcement the biggest step we've taken yet to enable commerce across our family of apps. So sellers are going to be able to set up one integrated online storefront across Facebook and Instagram. And there's the messaging integrations through Messenger, WhatsApp coming, and a bunch of other new features are kind of on the way. So we're going to dive into everything Facebook Shops today, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by two premier Facebook and Instagram advertising experts and specialists. So we've got Gil David of Run DMG, based in Northern Ireland. I'm sure
Copyright
that's not the first time this happened to you, Gil. Yes, I'm sure you're very used to that. In Northern Ireland, in Belfast, and Florian Litters of Adventure based in Germany. So welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Yeah. All right. So again, if for those attending live, we will take questions during the chat. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. If we don't get to them, we'll be following up either on Twitter or on Search Engine Land itself. So get those questions in as you start thinking of them. So Florian and Gil, Facebook has been making moves in this direction for, it seems like, years. It has been years, with several fits and starts into social commerce. But Facebook Shops seems like a different animal, and it might be the thing that actually takes, particularly once checkout is enabled for stores. It really becomes like a direct sales channel. And not to mention, it's kind of another thing that we've seen get pushed along from a planning standpoint due to COVID and response to the needs of, as we were talking about before we started recording, is the impact on small business in particular, but brick and mortar generally, who are now getting online. So first question to both of you is, what did you think when you first heard the news about Facebook Shops? And were you surprised, or is this something you could see coming along in an evolution? And how much do you think that this is going to kind of change the nature of how we all think about social commerce? So Gil, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think it was quite a surprise for everyone, really, because Mark Zuckerberg just went live. I wasn't actually on the live to start off with, and then I started getting notifications, people saying, "Wow, Zuck just changed the e-com game and stuff," and then I logged onto it. So yeah, there wasn't even an announcement that he was going live to announce anything like that. It literally just went live and announced it just like that, which is great in a way. But I think it's kind of part of what Facebook's done. I think Facebook's done a lot of good in the last couple of months in general, and especially for smaller businesses with some of the support they've offered, like grants and stuff like that. And this, I guess, is an extension. And Mark said himself that it's something that they've been planning for a while. Facebook paid shops have been out for, I think, probably a few years now, but they're not really that well used. They're not great in terms of kind of the interface and stuff like that. And I know the actual sellers themselves often find them quite fiddly to manage. So they just kind of set up the shop, stick it there, and it sits there and doesn't really do much. Whereas this is kind of a game changer, even just in terms of what it does for those Facebook page stores. And yeah, I think, especially for smaller businesses, it does change the game because they won't even necessarily have to have a website. I wouldn't recommend that they just, have a Facebook or an Instagram shop, because then they're putting all their eggs in one basket. But, in theory, a smaller business could just, they're probably on Facebook and Instagram anyway. And it just makes so much sense for them to have a shop that's seamless. The experience is the same across Facebook and Instagram, and then WhatsApp and Messenger when they roll those out as well. And yeah, just being able to sell on those platforms, not having to have a kind of a Shopify or WooCommerce set up in the back end. There's cost implications if they do use the native checkout, because I think the fee's at 5% now, which some people might say that's quite hefty, given that Shopify's depending on what plan you're on, it's between 2.5% and 3%. But for what you get, and if the checkout is as seamless and as kind of one click as it it's supposed to be, then potentially it's worth people paying a little bit more for that experience and for for the kind of conversion rates that they'll get because it is so native to the platform.
Yeah, I think it. Looking back to all the last years and all the things Facebook did, it's just the next step that they are now going to take. Looking back, their Facebook shops or Facebook shop tabs have been there, or Instagram shopping has been there. And now it's the next step, connecting the shop feature or making the shop feature on the side, on the profile, on the Instagram profile, much better. Make it much better, make it more customizable for users, and connecting that with the checkout feature, which could make it a huge player in e-commerce. So that can definitely be huge. I'm not sure.
I'm not getting any sound,
Yep,
Jenny.
I was on mute. Sorry. Here we go. One of the things I thought was, we'll get the hang of this at some point, was interesting is that is Facebook is changing its approach from saying to sellers and retailers, we're going to control all the tech, end to end, and instead now embracing sort of the open ecosystem with partnerships with Shopify and BigCommerce and WooCommerce and Feedonomics. And so that pivot is interesting. I don't know if that's because they figured out they're stronger, faster, more nimble with those partners. But it also is interesting to think about that, say you're a Shopify store, the getting up and running on Facebook shops is a matter of a few clicks once this gets implemented. Yeah. And so I assume also, that will just make the adoption easier for everybody. But I guess, one, I would love your take sort of on the ecosystem, open platform pivot that Facebook is making. And two, do you see sellers or businesses where this is not going to make sense for them, where you would say, you don't need a Facebook shops, you shouldn't be participating in this, or it's not the right fit? Or is this really going to be something that is, for so long, everyone took kind of a website for granted, and now it's, you have a website and shops or shops? What do you think?
In my opinion, it totally depends on at the end, who owns the data of the customer. Do you as a shop owner own the data, or do you even get the data, or is it owned by Facebook? And one big question that could be a downside of it is how will the average order value look when a user uses or checks out through Facebook shops or Instagram shops, whatever, because I don't know how much customizable your checkout process will be regarding upsells and stuff like that. So those are the things that we need to see once it's rolled out. But I think it has a big advantage looking at all the things going on with influencers and branded content. And if you combine branded content with Facebook shops, this could be really huge.
Yeah,
that's a great point. I think especially for brands that do a lot with email, they're going to want to make sure that they're still getting that data, to market to customers down the line. Because, for the same reason that a lot of brands don't like Amazon, they want to be able to carry on that user journey and, maximize their LTV rather than it just being kind of a one and done purchase. So that'll be a consideration for some bigger stores. But I think that's part of the reason why Facebook's partnered with Shopify and WooCommerce, and why I know you said it's a few clicks. I think it might be a one-click integration with Facebook and Shopify. And that's
I'm not sure it's one click, but I know it's quick. A few clicks. It's meant to be.
It's really easy. Yeah.
Quick. They did say that that users would have the ability, if they did check out through Facebook or Instagram, that there's the opt-in for receiving marketing emails. Opting into the email list is there. Again, that opt-in, conversion rate would be interesting to see how that actually plays out, and how that data gets transferred and how easily that can pull into a Marketo or whatever platform you're using. So yeah, that is interesting. So I guess, thinking about that from a branding and positioning standpoint, so, and thinking about it from a small business perspective, although I did note that the shop that the letterpress shop that Facebook featured on its promotional release has had an Etsy store since 2009. So in some ways, you can start to see where Facebook's gunning, I guess would be a term for this. It's not just the businesses that have been not online at all. There's a bigger picture here for sure. But thinking about, I want to just kind of go back to just the logistics in terms of thinking about presentation and branding and the creative needs that are going to have to be considered for shops. And if you started thinking at all about the implications for product imagery, and is this going to sort of evolve how brands and stores think about their product imagery? Is it something that you've already been working with them on from a social standpoint, and how social branding gets done and imagery gets reflected? And where do you kind of see this moving in terms of making visual impact?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. So from what we've seen so far, the layouts, it's a bit like collection ads, that sort of format. And the whole idea is that it is uniform across Facebook, Instagram, and like I say, WhatsApp and Messenger when they roll out. And then I guess we'll only see when there's more data and people have used it more and the adoption rate's higher, exactly what sort of creative works. But yeah, potentially, I know myself and Florian do a lot with catalogs and feeds and trying to do clever stuff with images and things like that.
Yeah.
So potentially you're going to have a different catalog specifically for the Facebook shop, to the one that maybe you use for your regular ads from the Shopify store or whatever backend you're using.
Yeah, maybe, but this is going to be a thing that it's going to be much harder for all the small business, because this is not going to be implemented with a one-click solution. We do that often. We create another feed, a second feed, and use lifestyle images for that, more for prospecting, but sometimes also for remarketing purposes. In that case, for Facebook or Instagram shops, I think lifestyle images could help and could be better, because I'm not sure if you can insert more than one image for one product, because I mean there are downsides and there are advantages or pros and cons. A pro could be it's much less friction using Facebook Shops, because it's one click. You can check out directly. There's no friction there, and it loads really fast, like a lead form or like an instant article or whatever, because it's hosted on Facebook servers. That's often a downside when you use your own shop, your own site, which has sometimes long page or high page speed, or takes long to load, whatever. That could be an advantage. But on the other side, it's maybe not that easy to customize your product detail landing pages with, for example, videos on it, with testimonial reviews on it, whatever. So this is going to be interesting to see how Facebook is going to solve that.
Yeah, and I guess, one of the things that, Facebook obviously is hoping that more stores, basically everyone, adopts Facebook Shops, right? And one of the things that Mark said was, as more competition comes on, obviously by offering shops for free, we have a feeling that will make advertising more in demand as shops try to differentiate themselves and stand out from the competition. So, I guess when you're talking to a store now, kind of where should they be thinking about, like, first steps? Do I just get the store up and running as soon as I get access to it, and then start trying to optimize? Or are there things that you would say, step back and really think about what the goal here is? I guess you talk through kind of what you see that as a process for getting going.
I think really it's a case of, just kind of diving in and getting started with it and playing about with it for the businesses that are eligible, because for now I think it's pretty much US only, and then there's some stores I think I know of in the UK that have got access to it. But yeah, it's really a case of getting set up on it, integrating it with your Shopify if that's kind of the route they've gone down, and then playing about like Florian was talking about, like trying lifestyle images versus standard flat lay images, different kind of ways of setting up. Again, it's kind of up for debate how much customization there is within it. But yeah, just getting it up there and playing about with it and seeing what's going to work for your individual business, because it is so new, so no one's really got much data on it. And there's always benefits to being an early adopter of these kind of things when Facebook rolls them out.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I think as the storefront itself has been there in some ways before on Facebook and on Instagram, so it's just another way to use Instagram shopping to customize your Instagram shopping experience much better. So I would definitely say jump on it as fast as you can if it's there for you, because it's free. It's free to use another storefront, another way to present your products, and there will be one thing that is much better than before, because the storefront you see will be based on the gender or whatever, based on your age. So Facebook will show you products based on your needs, maybe, and that's totally free. Presenting your products in this storefront, so I would use that, and you would definitely have to think about it when you are going to charge 5% fee or whatever it will be. Then you have to think about it, and then you have to see how much data you will get out of it, how much customer data you will get out of it, how the average order value will look. But until then, I would set it up, and I would definitely use it, and I don't see any downside here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Florian. The AI for personalization that Facebook is going to be using for this, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, because what they're talking about doing is being able to automatically identify and tag products in photos, and allowing people to link to them without a business even having to tag anything. And then, as you said, personalize the products that users see based on their own user profiles, which is really interesting. And I think that's going to be, potentially a massive differentiating factor for Facebook here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some crazy features to it as well, like the live shopping that they're going to enable with it. So you can go on Instagram Live, and the actual products that you're talking about, they're going to show up at the bottom of the screen, and they'll be clickable or tappable, which is kind of like one of those shopping channels. The AR feature they're talking about, where you'll be able to almost, basically chip stuff on in AR. So there's some really cool features, and there's some really cool stuff they're going to be doing with it, over the next kind of 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think it's interesting to see that Facebook, comparing Facebook and Amazon is definitely the place that has every product on earth, basically every product on earth, but it definitely lacks when it comes to inspiration, or to get some inspiration for new products. I go to Amazon and I know what I want to buy and I get it, but I personally think that it's not good at finding new products. And Facebook and Instagram is definitely there, inspiring you to find new products. And now they are going to combine that with the checkout feature, with the shop feature, which I think is, looking at all the players out there, which is big for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Google is trying to do some of this personalization with the homepage on its shopping hub, where it's using your search and purchase behavior, if they know what your purchases are, to inform the products that show up on that homepage. But again, the reach there is, I think, still at this point pretty minimal. And Amazon certainly does some personalization to some extent on the homepage, but again, like the resonance that actually has, and the way that threads actually through the experience, I think, is still extremely limited. So I think this, as taken as a whole, this package, like you both mentioned, the live, the AR, the personalization really has this potential to be massive for Facebook. I did want to talk about the live piece, and just wondering if you have any initial impressions, if you have experience with the promotions through live, and what your feedback is, and if not, sort of how businesses should start thinking about live, and where to start with testing that as a channel.
I don't know if that's huge for you, Gil, but our customers don't. I don't think any one of them has ever done a live for that purpose, to be honest. But I know that it's really big in China, and a lot of Chinese companies use live streams like shopping TV to promote their products, and I know that it's working there. So I mean, it totally depends on the product and the niche, but I can easily think of some niches or some clients that we have that could fit in that. But I don't have any experience there, but I know there is some potential out there.
Yeah,
and then I don't have any direct experience of it either. And I guess for a lot of e-commerce brands, they'd be like, we don't do lives. What's that going to do for us? But potentially, it's going to make them think again, because if they can sell in a powerful way, or if they're hooked up with an influencer, maybe if it's some kind of collaboration, and the influencer's doing the live, and then their products are obviously shown at the bottom of the screen, and they're shoppable direct from the live, then that's going to be powerful, even for e-commerce brands that have never thought about it and thought, doing lives isn't for us.
Yeah, and if there's the direct attribution, right? So if they're buying through and can measure that impact, that's interesting. We did have a question about, this is a question, do you think Facebook Shops listings will ever show up in the search results pages like Amazon listings? That's a good question. I would be surprised, but what do you think?
Yeah. I don't think Google's going to be too keen to jump on that and give Facebook all those free search volumes. So
no, if Facebook starts paying for shopping ads, we could see it. We could see it in that way. But and on the organic front, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I don't think so.
All right. What sort of any concerns or when you heard this news, I don't know if you've been talking to clients about it yet, any sort of pushback you're hearing in terms of Facebook having too much data, or any sort of hesitations on client side to think twice about this?
I mean, all our clients advertise on Facebook anyway, so they're perfectly happy. As far as they're concerned, more data for Facebook is better for them. So not really any downsides. I guess they've just got queries about what the cost implications are, which is nothing basically, unless you're using the native checkout. So again, really, there's not too much of a downside that I can think of for any of our clients. It's just if they want to own that data from the customers and be able to market to them down the line. And then maybe there's concerns like Florian touched on earlier about being able to upsell at checkout and things like that. If that's very important to your business, if you're selling a low AOV product that you need that extra of the upsells to make it work, then that's going to be a consideration. But generally, and probably for 95% of our clients and the businesses that we work with, there's only upside to it.
Yeah. And I guess those clients could just continue to say, we're going to send all this traffic to our own site, right? We'll have our shop. Yeah. We're just not going to implement checkout, and we'll handle it that way.
Yeah, and probably a lot of businesses will do that, and because you can advertise the shops directly, that's obviously something else that's powerful as well. So I guess a lot of stores will use it and send people to the store rather than the native checkout. And then if they see other brands using the native checkout and saying, we're getting a 10% conversion rate, then that's when that'll make them think twice about using that.
Exactly, and I can easily think of another upside there, because I personally think that in some years, maybe in 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, but there will be a future where we don't use any cookie or any Facebook pixel or whatever, any data that is going to be sent back from your site to Facebook, to Google, whatever. And this is one step into that future where we are not going to have to use something like a Facebook pixel to send back data to Facebook, because it's the data is on the platform, and that's definitely an upside too. Looking at all the things Google does with cookies, and Safari does with cookies, this could have too. But the downsides for me, again, as Gil mentioned too, who owns the data? What's my way to customize the checkout regarding upsell features, and how will the AOV look? Those are the things that need to be considered, but mainly there are upsides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this would have been possible without the rise of direct-to-consumer? I mean, how much has direct-to-consumer brands really influenced not only this product itself, but probably Facebook's entire outlook on sort of this broader ecosystem, and recognizing that we got to play with the Shopifys that are basically helping enable these brands. And just where do you kind of see that playing a part here? And where do you think, I guess also, for D2C, how much are there, how much of an uplift for them is potentially going to come from this? Facebook ads, Instagram ads have just been getting more and more expensive. Are there ways that they are going to be able to start to kind of differentiate themselves and potentially make inroads with potentially cheaper audiences, make the return on the ads more, higher, better lifetime value, that kind of thing?
I mean, starting with the second question, normally Facebook always benefits you when you use new features, which means you're getting reach cheaper. CPMs could be lower if you do that. So this could help if you then see maybe the same conversion rate, or maybe even a better conversion rate on that feature. And then if you get a reach for a lower CPM and have a higher conversion rate, then this will definitely help you. Regarding D2C and how this is pushed by D2C brands, I think it's hard to tell, because if there won't be any D2Cs, there probably would be other e-commerce brands that use that. And I mean, D2C brands normally are much more agile and much faster in adopting features like that. That's true in my experience. But I don't know. I think there would be other e-commerce brands that would use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because even Facebook themselves have said, I think they've been a little surprised by how big the direct response to the DR kind of side of their ad revenue has held things up in the last quarter. So whereas a lot of bigger brands pulled their spend as soon as the whole COVID-19 thing started hitting, a lot of DTC advertisers, direct response advertisers saw the opportunity in the ridiculously low CPMs that we were seeing. So I think on average they were lower than they've been in 2 years. I think it is something, Florian. So a lot of smaller brands, DTC brands, jumped on that, and that's where obviously Facebook's revenue it didn't grow as much as they were expecting in the last quarter, but I think it was flat compared to last year, which is a win in the current circumstances. So they definitely recognise then how big potentially the performance side of their ad revenue is. I think this is part of that. Again, them seeing that and saying, okay, we've got this Facebook shop feature we were looking at releasing maybe, I don't know, early 2021, something like that. And along with the situation and helping smaller businesses, it's all made them think, okay, let's really push this up and let's get this product out there as soon as we can.
Yeah, it is interesting. And the conversation that Mark had with Shopify was very clear that is playing a role. That Shopify's own acceleration is certainly Facebook took notice. We do have a couple of questions. So how do you think Facebook Shops will impact ad performance? And will we see a more accurate reflection of Facebook's ad impact in last click attribution?
That's an interesting question. That's a good one. Regarding ad performance, I mean, in the looking at the ad auction, there's one factor that's going in there, which is the estimated action rates, and they are mainly caused by conversion rate. So if conversion rate goes up, this should help you in the ad auction, which should help you to buy the reach cheaper, so you get cheaper CPMs, and it could definitely bring in more last click conversions. That's an interesting question. I've never thought about that before, but I can easily think of that. Yeah, because it's less friction, it's easier, it's a one-click way to buy the product. That's interesting, and I can easily think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah. And then another thing that factors into the auction as well is user behavior. So if Facebook sees users that are kind of regularly clicking on ads for Facebook shops, so they're regularly engaged with Facebook shops, then it's going to show them more of those kind of ads, and then potentially you're going to see better performance when you're running ads to the shop rather than to your website. So yeah, it's a good question, that.
Yeah, I mean, also, I do wonder if there will be any developments that come in on the with Facebook attribution, the product Facebook attribution that kind of plays into this. We'll have to watch for that. Thanks for that question. And we had another one about, let's see, will services be available in Facebook shops, or is it just physical products? At this point, it's just physical products. Although I don't know if things like gym memberships, that kind of thing would eventually play a role, but at this point, it's just products. And then, do you think search volume will drop on Google for products while it increases on Facebook and Instagram? I mean, yeah.
That's another good one, because as far as I know, there are now more product searches going on Amazon than on Google. And as I've said before, I think Amazon is good there, grabbing all the intent from Google for product searches. But Facebook and Instagram is much bigger on the inspiration side of things, and I can maybe think of maybe brand search could go down, because I don't have to search for the site or for the brand and go on the actual shop, on the actual site, and buy there, because I can, I don't know, go through my Messenger, go through WhatsApp, go through Instagram, and buy on their profile there. So this could maybe result in less brand search for Google.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about from the brand search perspective.
Yeah. And I know search volumes are increasing on Facebook, but I think it's still a way off kind of rivaling Google or having much of an impact there. But people are definitely, you know, if you run ads and you run Google and Facebook together, you know, they work well together. So, you know, people discover products and brands on Facebook. And then, like most of us do, they go and Google them for more information on Google. So I think it's a way off impacting it that much, but search on Facebook is definitely something that's growing, and it's already pretty big on Instagram. So there's potential there, definitely.
Yeah, and I will note that Google's own answer during this time, they pushed up their plans to roll out free listings on shopping, which then, you know, the point there is that it expands the universe of products that are available on Google Shopping, which then, you know, the idea hopefully would be then that they would drive, sort of get back some of that lost share of product search from Amazon. So we'll see. But if you are also, you know, just starting to get in on thinking about promoting your products, there's another feed-based free option for you as well that's open.
Exactly.
All right.
I'm sure that gave Facebook a kick to release this as well, maybe a bit earlier than they were planning on.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. And then the other thing that just came out today is Google announced that discovery campaigns are now generally available globally. And those are going straight after the kind of discovery spark levels in the funnel that Facebook speaks to, right? So they're basically saying, repurpose your social ads for discovery campaigns. You'll be in the Discover feed, you'll be on YouTube, and you'll be in Gmail automatically. So the overlaps here are going to be really interesting to watch, and particularly how this plays out in commerce has been fascinating. as we were talking about before we got kicked off, that e-commerce in general has just seen this crazy surge during this time. And, I just wonder if we want to just talk quickly about sort of where you're seeing e-commerce go and where you think that, commerce marketers really need to be thinking about for the third and fourth quarters of this year, kind of as we're going through this transition period.
Looking at all the clients and all the data I see, it feels like we've been pushed 2 years in the future in like 4 or 6 weeks or something like that. That's only what it feels like looking at e-commerce, because I think that the e-commerce did benefit a lot from the last weeks or the last months. And I think there are a lot of people out there that haven't bought in e-commerce before and now are buying in e-commerce. So there are new customers acquired looking at total e-commerce now. So the e-commerce total share rises, and I think this won't go away anymore. And looking at this year, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Q4 will look like this year, because it felt like we had one in the last 8 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting, but I don't think we are not seeing a big Black Friday or a big Christmas time, whatever. I think it's going to be big again. So this will be a big year for e-commerce this year. One thing I would like to mention again regarding Facebook Shops, I think, or one thing that maybe e-commerce D2C owners should think about, I would think about how to integrate influencers with this product. How can I kind of bring out a collection that is, I don't know, made by this influencer, and this is available through Facebook, Instagram shops. This can be bought directly, clicking on the ad, clicking on the influencer story, clicking on the live video. And I think this could be a huge thing in Q4 or the last year, if it's rolled out.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Just before we kicked off, Ginny.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to say that the influencer piece I think is really interesting, and do you think, Gail, that we'll start to see more businesses, even small businesses, making influencer a part of their marketing programs?
Yeah, I think there's potential there, and especially like we talked about with the live aspect of the new shops, that's going to be huge for potential collaborations with influencers. And yeah, I was just going to kind of touch on what we talked about before, which was where, with the boom in e-commerce, there's people, especially maybe of older generations, that aren't as familiar with online shopping, or they don't trust it as much, that have had to go online. And I'm not quite as bullish. I don't think it's going to last, the way some people think it's going to last, the e-commerce boom, especially once retail opens back up again, because the same way that a lot of people are realizing that they don't want to work from home. It seemed amazing, the idea of working from home, almost working when you like, working in your sweat panel. A lot of people are finding that they actually prefer working in an office with other people around them. And there's going to be people that miss kind of the personal aspect of being in a store, having some kind of engagement with the person at the checkout, maybe seeing friends or that when they're walking around, once things get more back to normal. So yeah, while it's been a boom for e-commerce, and it's been kind of better than Black Friday for several of our clients, and I think it will be a shift. And like Florian said, it's probably pushed e-commerce forward by a couple of years. But it's definitely not going to last at the same kind of level that it's been at. And there is a lot of people that will, they're looking forward to being able to return to retail and physical shopping because they just prefer that kind of personal aspect of it.
Yeah. And I just wonder also, in terms of where you see Facebook is coming back to shops, and where you see that fitting into from the digital channel perspective, what kind of lift or share do you think you're going to start seeing Facebook take from a digital perspective? You're saying maybe it drives, I don't know, say a third of online sales for a retailer now? How do you see that shifting with shops? And I know that's an open-ended question.
Yeah, something we haven't talked about is kind of, apart from the e-commerce boom in terms of people buying, but actually businesses being forced online to survive as well. So that's a lot of restaurants have started selling online and doing collection delivery that weren't before. A lot of smaller businesses have had to get online to even get any kind of revenue in. So that's obviously been a big shift. And then, yeah, just kind of, I guess in general, that move on the platform, obviously we'll see in the next few months, and once shops are fully rolled out, what kind of impact it has. But we've had clients where they had, retailers maybe cancelled, huge orders because they were going to be closed for a few months. But focusing more online has really shown them the potential of e-commerce. And they're spending a lot more on the platform. They're getting a lot more revenue, and they've really seen the potential they've got from e-commerce. Before it was just kind of another channel, and their main market was selling to big retailers. But yeah, like I say, now there is going to be, for some brands that have kind of been able to pivot a little bit and been able to thrive over the last 8 weeks. There's definitely been a big display of the potential for their e-commerce, the e-commerce side of their business, and they're going to make more of it going forward.
Yep, interesting. All right. Well, thank you both, Gil and Florian. Can you give a little, let everyone know how to reach you, the best way to be in touch, follow you?
Just follow Gil on Twitter. He's he's one of the smartest guys out there, so follow him on Twitter, and you can also find me on Twitter if you like. That's the easiest way.
All right, great.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Gil, GIL_RunDMG, or if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to always answer questions and help people out. Gil@run-dmg.com.
Great. And Florian, you're Literst Florian, correct? On
exactly.
Twitter?
It's just
the other way around.
All right.
Don't me the username.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. This has been terrific. Thank you to everyone who joined us live. And there will be a replay of this up on YouTube and Search Engine Land. And have a terrific rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.